Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be going over one of my favorite ways to kind of get over artist block and also just have a kind of experimental and fun time in your sketchbook. And this is called a 15-minute challenge, just a time challenge. You can choose whatever time you like, and you're meant to make a painting in that amount of time. And putting the time limit on it does a couple of things. It helps to kind of get you looser with your brush strokes. It lets you not get bogged down in the details because you don't have time. And it just helps to kind of relieve some of the pressure of it being perfect. Like, you can't work on it for longer than this time. So if it doesn't turn out perfectly, you can just kind of be like, all right, well, I only spent 15 minutes on it. It's okay if it's not perfect. And we move on. So I think it's a really, really useful sort of tool or challenge to use. And I really like to do it just in times where I just don't really feel inspired, or I'm just having trouble kind of getting started. So this is one that I just did 10 minutes ago. This was a 20-minute challenge. I was originally going to do 15, but I, needed a couple extra minutes to finish it up. And I quite like how it turned out. It's obviously not perfect. There's some little things in here that I would probably change if I had longer, but the point is that I got this painting done in 20 minutes, and I quite like how expressive everything is, and I like the colors that I got, and I'm just kind of happy with how this painting turned out in general. So we're gonna do another one today. This is a sketchbook from Stillman and Birn. I got it from Amazon. This is not sponsored. This is just a nice toned sketchbook, and I'm really enjoying using my gouache with it. I got this palette from Amazon as well, and my gouache is a mix of Winsor Newton designer's gouache and M. Graham gouache. So I'll show you those two brands here. There you go. I like both of these. This one I can find in my local art store. This one I get from Amazon, so it just kind of depends on where I want to buy it. And I'm going to go ahead and prep my paper. So I'm going to use some tape and put down a border here. I'm going to do my little sketch. I've got a reference photo pulled up already on my laptop, so I'm just going to give myself time to sketch and get ready, and then the timer will start when I'm going to start painting. Alrighty, I have done my pencil sketch. I've got my paints all ready to go. I've got my reference photo pulled up on my computer here. You can see what it is. And we're gonna go ahead and get started. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on the time here on the camera, and I'm gonna aim for 15 minutes. If I need an extra 5 at the end, I will let myself have an extra 5, but no longer than 20 minutes. And I suppose we'll start now. So I'm going to start with the sky, like I normally do. I like to get the sky and the background kind of put in first, so I don't spend too long mixing my colors, just try and get some paint on the paper here. And I'm using a large brush for this entire painting. It's a 12 flat brush. And I really like using these flat brushes for these paintings because they give me a lot of like expressive brush strokes. And so I can kind of create some different shapes, and it gives it kind of an interesting look. So I'm just gonna use this one brush for the whole time. It also just cuts down on time, so I don't need to continue switching brushes. Just adding some white into this blue sky as I work my way down here. There we go, there's the sky. Okay, then I'm going to switch to the water section, and we've got a couple of different colors in the water, so I'm going to start with blue. Nice dark blue. Maybe I'll add some green to it. Oh, that's kind of an interesting color. Switch to this one. Just kind of a blue-green. And this gets more green as it goes towards the shoreline here. So I might start with this blue and then just kind of add green to it. So we'll start with this down here. I like that color. And then as we get closer to shore, I'm going to add some more green to it. Mix a little white in there. That was too much green. I'm just going to use the edge of the brush to kind of start adding some ripples in there. Green kind of goes down here. And Towards the very edge of shore, it gets kind of brown with a little white mixed in. So then I'll add that here. Again, we're not trying to be perfect here. These are just kind of the general colors that I see, and I'm just using whatever I mix up first and trying not to worry about it too much. Okay, and then on this side of the painting, we've got some lighter blue. So I'm going to mix some ultramarine blue, maybe take some of this color over here, add in a little phthalo blue, some white. Okay, and then I'm going to use that to paint in the rest of the little ocean section here. Okay, so that's kind of the base color that I'm going to use, that I'm going to work from here. And then I can kind of go back and forth, keep adding some lighter colors here, maybe in here. Just some little kind of ripples. I like this flat brush too for adding ripples, because I can just hold it sideways and just kind of paint in these horizontal lines. You can also do that same thing over here. Add some white to this color that we used over here. And let's see, I think I want one more kind of highlight in here. Okay, and I think I'll add a couple little sparkles in here, just with the tip of my brush. There's a few little spots where there's some sunlight reflecting off the waves here. So just some little dots and stuff with my brush. Making a slight X pattern to show the light kind of rippling off. Oh, a few too many there. Okay, and we'll just leave that there for now. Okay, how are we doing on time? We've used about 6.5 minutes, so we're doing all right. Next, we're going to fill in this distant land here. I'm just gonna kind of use colors that I already have. Add some more blue. Add some green and a little brown. It's good. No details over there, that's just a distant kind of piece of land. But having put that in, I think that water needs to be a little lighter over there. So I'm just gonna use some white, mix it into this blue over here, and just clean up the horizon line here. There we go. All right, now we need to get to the focal point of this painting because we're about halfway through our time. So I'm going to first add in the cliff that's kind of here. See if we can get a good color. So I'm going to start with brown, add some blue, and I'm adding some red as well to make a little bit of a purple color, kind of a muted purple color. Add a little white. More blue. I like to mix all of my colors kind of in the same area here because I'm getting some of the previous colors in the new color, and it helps to create a kind of consistency in your painting when you have colors that have similarities. Okay, so there's our little cliff, and then we've got a little shadow from the cliff that comes out onto the beach here. So I'm going to draw that and paint that little shadow in underneath the trees. Okay, add some little cliff details into the cliff here too. Okay, perfect. All right, then we need a beach color. So yellow ochre, a little bit of brown. Again, just mixing in a little bit of that previous color. Just helps with the color harmony. Fill in this section here. And at this point, it just kind of feels kind of like a paint by numbers to me. Like I just see the little sections that I need to work on, and I just pick a color and fill them in. I'm not doing a whole ton of like extra details with different colors here, just because it'll take too long. So it kind of turns into a color block situation or like a paint by numbers, which is fine. It's kind of the style that we're going for anyway. I'm just gonna darken that color a little bit as we get out to the point here. Lovely. All right, time check. We've got about 4 minutes left, which doesn't seem like quite enough, but we're gonna do our best. I'm gonna add a little roof to this little house that I'm gonna try and include here. We'll see if that actually gets included. Okay, now we're gonna fill in the rest of that with a very dark green. I like to, when I'm painting foliage and trees and stuff, especially when there's strong lighting like there is in this painting here, I like to start with a very, very dark green and then work my way up to the highlights. So I'm using sap green, some ultramarine blue, and some burnt umber, just to get a super, super dark green. And I'm going to water that down a little bit too. Okay, now with this I'm going to fill in this section here. I think I'm just going to abandon the house idea because I just don't have the time. So I'm going to create a rough outline of the trees here. Around the outside, I'm going to use kind of the edge of my brush to create kind of a fluffy tree texture here. And I can start making the actual little evergreen trees that stick up and out of this section. They're pretty scraggly, so I'm not going to do too much to make them look like perfect little trees. They'll come across as trees, even without too much detail there. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Okay, and now we just need to add the highlights on top of that. So I'm going to start mixing up a lighter green, adding in some yellow and some white, maybe a little bit of yellow ochre as well. And I'm not even going to wait for that to dry, we're just going to start adding some highlights. So I'm using the corner of my brush and just recreating the shapes that I see, the really general shapes that I see on my reference photo here. And this is not my lightest color yet, so I'm just going to add this to everywhere that's going to get a highlight. Everything else is going to stay in shadow. And time check, we have just passed 15 minutes, so I'm going to give myself a few extra minutes just to finish this part up. Sometimes this lighter green will mix in with a darker green, and that's okay. Add a few little dots and lines and stuff in the shadow section. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to add even more yellow and even more white to this color, and we're going to get our final highlight color. Go. And then I'm going to just carefully, with the tip of my brush, add this on top of the highlight that we just added, just to add a little bit more detail. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Now, with the final like 3 minutes that I have, I'm just going to take a step back, look at this painting, and figure out what final details that I can add in the last 3 minutes that will most benefit this painting. So not every detail needs to be added. I just need to figure out which ones are the most important. So I think the trees look good, the cliff looks good. I think the beach section could be improved. So I think I might use just a slightly darker color. And just define this little horizon line here. Add a little detail to this cliff here maybe. Maybe we add like a little texture to the beach. I might go back and just kind of redefine this horizon line a little bit, or not the horizon line, but where the water meets the land here. Okay. Quite like that. And we've got one final minute here. And I think that's time. So there's our little 20-minute landscape. Again, it is not perfect. It's not meant to be. It's just meant to be a little practice and maybe a little bit of stress, but mostly just kind of practice getting expressive and working with the time that you have and getting as much information down on the painting as you possibly can. So I'm going to remove the tape and then we'll have some final thoughts. I always like to sign my paintings down here. And in my sketchbook, I'm trying to get into a better habit of putting the date in there too. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that as well. Just so I know I can keep track of my progress. All right, so here is that final painting. I quite like how this turned out. I think this turned out pretty good. Obviously the water isn't super realistic, but it's enough to be like, all right, that's water. I really like how this section turned out, and I'm just happy with the painting overall, especially for only working on it for 20 minutes. So please do give this a try. This is a great exercise, like I said before, if you're feeling like you have some artist block, or if you're feeling like you are a perfectionist and can't get over kind of really having to add all the details. Give yourself a time limit and just choose a simpler reference photo, but just try and get as much information down there as you can and be expressive and just be kind of more free with your colors. Please do leave a like and a comment on this video. Make sure you just subscribe as well. Really helps me out with everything. And please just let me know what else you'd like to see on this channel. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.